Hey everybody, Dave here from Charest Studios, and today I'm about ready to plant my cantaloupes in coolers. So these are five little, I'll come in closer and show you, but they're little peat pellets, which I've started 2 cantaloupe seeds in each one, and so the sun's pretty bright out here today, so I got my sun hat on, as my dermatologist would recommend. And I'm going to fill this up. I got my 5-gallon bucket right here, and I'll see how many it takes to fill this up. I think it's 3. And then I'll go in and mix my master blend in concentrate in a little mason jar. And after I fill this with my 3 buckets or whatever it takes, I'll make the concentrate, and then I'll dump it in. I'll put a net cup in the top. Make sure that the solution is coming into the net cup about 1/4 of an inch or more if I want to put clay pebbles in, but I'm probably just going to drop those right in the net cup, no clay pebbles or anything. I haven't found it's necessary, and I'm all about doing the simplest, least amount possible that works fine, because why do more than you have to, and why use more resources than you have to, right? So that's the way I approach it, and it's been working good so far. I've done these cantaloupes in coolers for, I think it's the 3rd year, the 3rd year that I've done it, and this year I'm only doing the cantaloupes. I've done watermelons and stuff in the past, but the cantaloupes are my favorite, and they do the best, so that's what I'll go with. So let me get you guys in closer, and I'm going to show you how I mix the solution and everything, and yeah, we'll take it step by step. So we'll see how many buckets this thing takes, and to fill this up, okay guys, so I got 10 gallons in there, and as you can see, I still have to come up. I'm going to have to fill this right up to the top, because the way this cooler lid sits up a little high, I'm still not getting any solution into this net cup yet. And that's a little bit of a problem in the beginning, because you don't want this seedling to dry out. So what I'm going to do is I'll go in and I'll mix enough solution concentrate for 10 gallons, and I'll pour it in there, and I'll mix it up, and then I'll go just make a 5-gallon bucket of master blend in the bucket there, and then I'll top this off with whatever I need, and I'll pour the rest into my next cooler. Okay guys, so I'm in the house and I'm getting ready to mix up my concentrate that I'll then pour into my 10 gallons that's in the cooler. So no matter how many gallons I've got in the cooler, if I have a 20-gallon cooler, then I'll make up enough for 20 gallons in this little jar, which is, I just take a pickle jar or a mason jar, and I put warm water in there because I like the way it dissolves in the warm water. And it's 2 teaspoons of each of these components for every 5 gallons of master blend. So the master blend is a 3-part formula. The master blend itself, and then this is calcium nitrate, and then this is Epsom salt. So you got your calcium, magnesium, and your master blend. 2 teaspoons of each. And the way the instructions are on the package, I know other people have said that their package said something different, or so forth, but the way I've done it according to the package instructions is I always mix my calcium nitrate first, 2 teaspoons per 5 gallons, and then I dissolve that in the water. Then I add my 2 teaspoons of master blend per 5 gallons, and I dissolve that in the water, and then I add my Epsom salts, 2 teaspoons of that. So in this case I'm going to be using 4 teaspoons of each in the warm water. So here's my little jar, and I'll start with my 4 teaspoons of calcium nitrate. So So I just measure out 4 nice teaspoons. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I'll stir that up until it's nicely dissolved. And this will be enough for my 10 gallons. I've done it all different ways. I've done it in the buckets of cold water, and I just find this really dissolves nicely, and then I just pour this in my water, either in my 5-gallon bucket or in my cooler, however much I'm making. And it dissolves beautifully. Sometimes in the cold water it wasn't dissolving as nice as that. Make sure you always cap your jars up right away, especially when it's humid, because sorry guys, because this will absorb the humidity in the air and it will get bad, get hard. 2, 3, 4. And then I'll dissolve that up. Now in this case, my cooler isn't quite as full as I want it to be, but because my plants are young, I'm going to dilute this solution a little bit and fill it up the rest of the way with just plain water. Generally they can take full strength master blend even when they're young, but I'll dilute it a little bit because I only need a couple inches of water, so it'll only be diluted, not that much. Should be fine, because as I add nutrients to it, I'll be adding full strength. So now we've got our master blend in there, and now we'll do our Epsom salts, which is our magnesium. 4 teaspoons of this. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So that's it, guys, and then we'll go pour this in the 10 gallons of water that we have in the cooler. I'll cap these up even though I'm coming right back in to make more. Like I said, you don't want any moisture going in there. These nutrients seem to act like a sponge to pull moisture out of the air, and then it will harden up your nutrients, whether it be your Epsom salts or your master blend. So there it is. That's our master blend concentrate. I just find this much easier to make a concentrate and then add it in. And if you measure your parts per million or anything, it's easy to use the concentrate and do that. I don't measure anything. I just do my 2 teaspoons per 5 gallons of each component of the master blend. Let's go add this to our cooler. So here we go. Just going to pour that in. It's good to have a spoon or something to mix that in, but because I'm going to dilute this solution a little bit, because it is a baby plant, I'm just going to go ahead and fill this up the rest of the way with water. So it'll be a little bit dilute, but not very much diluted. And I'll fill it up as much as I can. And every time I top this off, I'll top it off with full strength. So there it is, guys, filled up as much as I could fill it up. I just topped it off with a little water, so it's a little bit weaker than full strength. Now when I put my net cup in, we want to see if that net cup is going to hit that solution. I think this cooler in particular has a little bit of an issue because that lid sits up so high. So close. It's within a 1/4 of an inch from coming in to that cup. So I'm going to try to add a little bit more, just so that plant can have, be touching some liquid. I'll just add it in through here. I know it's really full, so it might start overflowing out the front. But if I can get it filled enough so that it's touching the bottom of that net cup, then that plant will be able to drink, because the roots are already coming out. So there we go. I put a tarp over the greenhouse right now so we wouldn't have such intense sun. So I really want that in there all the way, even though it's sitting down a little bit. I'm going to leave it like that because I really want that plant to be as close to the solution as possible. The fluid was just touching the bottom of that net cup. Generally I would have about 1/4 of an inch into the solution if the lid on the cooler allows it. And if I can't get my cup to touch the solution, then I'll hand water the plant until it reaches its roots inside the solution, and then it will be okay. So I am going to add clay pebbles to the top there. I want to stop any light infiltration. We have about 1.5 inches from the top of the net cup into the top of that peat pellet. So I'm going to put some clay pebbles in there just so that we can block some more light. So I didn't put any on the bottom, but I'll put some around the top. Okay, so here we go. And I'll still keep an eye on this because I know it's almost just barely reaching the solution. And I'll keep an eye to make sure that if it looks like it's drying up, I'll give it a little shot of water on top here to keep that peat pellet moist. There you go, guys. I have to clean up in the studio, and then I got about I think I got about 4 more coolers that I'll have to get filled up and get going. And I will show you guys after that. But there it is. And the reason why I planted the cantaloupe off the back side of this cooler is so that I'll be able to lift this up and still fill from the front. It's worked successfully. I've done it before for the last few years. So if you're going to do this, make sure you put that in the back. Put the hole in the back so you can still lift the front. Alternatively, of course, you could put in a hole to fill. So this is how I started the cantaloupes, was just in the little peat pellets. You just put water on them and they swell up. And I put 2 cantaloupes in each, so each one of these plantings that you see have 2 cantaloupes. And when I've grown them in coolers before, it supported 2 plants. Now here's 2 I put in mason jars for the cooler that had the domed lid. One of them is for that, and the other one I'm not sure. If I can find a cooler for that one, I will. But let me show you the 2 that I planted in the coolers. So here's the first one, guys, and as I mentioned, I put it in the back so we can still access the fluid in the front. And the other one I got out here opens a little differently. This one is on wheels, and there's the handle, and there it is. So also with this one, because it's not in the greenhouse, all day long I had a little table like in front of it, giving it some shade. You want to give it a little bit of shade on its first day if it hasn't been out in the full sun before. I had these growing under my LED shop lights in the house on the bookcase. So this is the first day it's been out here, and it's the first day it's getting transplanted. So you want to give it a little bit of a shade for that first day. And this one, it's a little more tricky because it lifts this way, but I still I still was able to get my bucket in here and pour it, even when the vines and the cantaloupes were on it. It worked. I could put a fill hole here with a funnel too if I wanted to, but I like to avoid holes on the top because you can get rain infiltration, and we want to minimize that. I may even cut a little plastic cover for this that just has a little slit and a hole for the plant. But usually the rain infiltration is not too bad on these, and occasionally when it is bad, I'll have to either change out, I'll have to change out the fluid if it was really bad. But generally they don't get too bad because I'm able to block out, once these get some leaves, they're going to shed a lot of water. And we have these grooves here that shed water and have a little rounding. So they don't really send a lot of water in there generally. Like I said, I'll try to put that little plastic, some kind of like a coffee can lid or something over that to give it even a little bit more protection from rain infiltration. And yeah, so that one's good. So 2 of them were good. And then this cooler that I had over here has such a domed up lid that when you put the net cup in, you're still far away from hitting the fluid. This one still has to be cleaned, but you can see it's about almost a 4-inch, probably like 7 inches from the top of this to the top of the cooler. So even if you had the thing full to the top, your plant's roots wouldn't reach the solution. So when they're in the mason jar for a few weeks, the roots will get nice and long, and then I'll be sure enough will be in the solution. And it doesn't matter if some roots are out of the solution. In fact, that's the way it is in passive hydroponics. You need roots in the air part and roots in the water part. And basically, I guess you would say the part you want about 1/3 generally is the idea for passive hydroponics or Kratky style hydroponics, which is what I do. You generally want about 1/3 of the vessel to be for air roots, or so they say. I've found that that's not necessarily always true. You can get by with less, but different plants have different preferences. So you can kind of experiment and learn. But basically, if you do the 1/3 for air roots and the rest can be submerged, you should be, pretty safe with that. Well, thank you all so much for watching. I hope everything is good with all of you and your gardens and your hydroponics and in your life. And remember, take care of yourself, take care of each other, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.